Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems. Hey, I'm Tom Gocze. This week on Hot and Cold, we got toilet trouble here in River City, and we got the flapper. That's not the thing for the lights, is it? If it is, we're in big trouble. We're gonna fix the. We're not gonna fix the toilet. We're gonna change the toilet, and we have got a. I hate this word, but we have an eco toilet. What is eco about an eco toilet? You have to wait and see. What the heck is that? So we have a toilet here that is an ancient 1.5 gallon per flush toilet. The original toilets that were 1.5 gallon flush toilets never worked very well. They just put smaller tank on a standard bowl and it never flushed well. This toilet had some flapper issues, and I'm going to turn the water off because I don't want, this tank has been dry for about 3 million years. The flapper didn't seal right. We put a new flapper in it. That still didn't seal right. At that point, I said, you know, that's the old flapper. I was going to throw that out, and we're gonna do a whole new toilet. So we got to take the old toilet out, which is always big fun. Anytime you can take a toilet out, try to get somebody else to do it because it's usually messy. You can see here I got water dribbling down because I just had turned the water on inadvertently, but that's okay. There's nothing really to damage here. This bathroom is a nightmare. And we're just going to take this toilet apart. And it's not going to come apart, it's not going to go easily into the night because there's two bolts down here. If we look inside, we don't have really good light, but there's two bolts, one here and one there. We'll have to brighten that up in post-production. And you can see that's a big mass of corrosion that's there. So I've got vice grips and pliers, and there's a wing nut on the bottom. So that part is easy to take apart if in fact, boy, that's all nasty. You know, I always wanted to break a tank. Should we break the tank? Should we? We can't recycle it because it's an old toilet. Let's see what happens if we just do this. I can't break the tank. I can't do it. So what we'll have to do is get a saw and just cut those, see if we can snap them or something. So let's get the tank off here and then we'll go on. Well, while we're waiting, I got a recip saw with a metal cutting blade to cut these bolts. In the meantime, I always take some great pleasure in getting rid of old bathroom cleaning things. We will not need the plunger anymore, I'm telling you, because we will not have to plunge the new toilet. If you look online, you know, if you're shopping for a toilet, there's several different brands that are pretty decent. One is American Standard, makes a toilet called a Champion. That's pretty good. I've got one called a Toto, which I just love the name of it. This toilet seat is going to be history here in a moment. There's nothing like disgusting toilets, old toilets, to make a wonderful home improvement project. But the joy of doing a toilet over is the fact that you get a nice new clean appliance to start off with. So you may notice, if you look up at the ceiling for a moment there, this bathroom is in really bad shape. And it is in the process, it will be in the process soon of being redone. But it's always good to have a functional toilet, and because you never know. Foul, I think, is the word we want to use. Is foul the operative word here today? Do we have the cordless recip saw? We do. for the disembodied hand. And let's see if we can just reach in underneath there. Not quite. I think that's one side. We don't care if we break this because it's already going. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're done there. It's going to fight us all the way, isn't it? Let's recip saw it a little more. I think we need a longer blade. There we go. Send that back to the disembodied hand, and we take the tank off. We'll put the tank in there. This is disgusting, but that's okay. That's what toilets are all about. Disgusting things. You know what? That's dribbling. Were we dripping water downstairs there, Professor? Yep. Yep. Okay, so we got a bucket downstairs to catch the water. The only other thing we need to do now is on the sides here. Maybe you can see it on the other side better. We have to remove the toilet base from the flange, the floor flange. And we've got just the toilet bolts here and a nut. And it's nice to see that this was never cut with caps put on it, so it's made it nice and rusty. And basically what we need to do is loosen that up enough so we can, that whole thing is moving. Maybe we can cut that with the recip saw too, when they're this messed up like this. Power tools make the job a lot easier, don't they? We're going to be replacing the bolts anyway. Let me see if I can just loosen this one up. Oh man, this is disgustingly crusty and the wax ring is oozing up through. I just want to mention something. You know, when it comes to toilets, this job does get a little nasty, a little scrungy, but when you're all done, you take soap and water and it all washes away. So there's nothing here that is going to kill you. You just have to be wise about cleaning yourself up when you're done. You know, plumbers do this every day, and they make the big bucks doing it because most folks don't want to do it. It's not that big a deal, though. And it's a very gratifying job when it's done. And there, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the one thing we do want to have is a lot of paper towels. There's some water left in this bowl. We could use a shop vac, a wet dry vac, and we could vacuum the water out, but there is no challenge in that. The challenge is to try to get the water out of the bowl into the drain without making a big mess. That never works, but we'll try it anyway. Usually what I do is I lift the bowl a little bit and tip it back, and the water runs down the drain, or it runs downstairs, depending on how you do it. Now the whole toilet, we're just going to pick up, move out of the way for now. Remove the TV show wires. You won't have microphone wires, hopefully, when you do this. And we'll just pick that up. We're going to set it over here. Now we're down to the important part. The nuts and bolts of the toilet. We've got the floor flange with a big wax ring, going to get some paper towels and we're going to clean up the wax ring, and we'll be ready to start putting the new toilet in place. We'll clean up, I think we should clean the floor a little bit too. Let's wash the floor and make this presentable. Okay, so I've cleaned up the floor a little bit. Now I'm just going to remove the old wax ring, and usually you can put rubber gloves on if you want. This wax ring has got a plastic insert to it. We'll lift that up and that'll all come up. I brought a garbage can up here just for convenience sake, because if we can put all the bits that go to the toilet into the garbage, and you can either put rubber gloves on or latex gloves if you find this a vile, disgusting project. Hopefully you've all had lunch or breakfast or whatever meal of the day by now. It's no big deal. This is beeswax. It does not support the growth of nasty stuff. So we'll just basically removing the wax that's left here. We could slide the, here's one of the bolts I cut off. And this has a little thing that it slides in. Just remove that. I'm just going to wipe this up a little bit more and we'll be ready to start to assemble the toilet. I want to clean around the flange. We have the luxury of being in here and being under the toilet, so we can get any dirt that has accumulated over the eons out of here. Now, this toilet will come up again at some point. We will put a new floor down. In the interim, though, while we're doing construction, we won't do that. We'll probably put a tile floor in here. But right now, that's not a priority for us. All right, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. We'll just try to get some of the nasty stuff off the floor, the remnants of cleaning jobs gone awry. And let's clean this up a little bit more, and we can go ahead and take a look at the new eco-friendly toilet as opposed to the old eco-friendly toilet. An eco toilet that really works for a change. So what we have here is a jacuzzi toilet called the Esprit. What's kind of unique about this toilet is a couple of things. One is it's a 1.28 gallon per flush toilet instead of the standard 1.5 gallon. And it also has smooth sides on the bowl for easier cleaning. And this is the tank. Water goes in. Pretty standard. All the hardware is pretty standard. We're just going to set that over here. And what we need is the bowl, which is in the bottom. A lot of cardboard. There's the tank top. We'll put that over there. We'll leave it in the box for now. And we get to the bowl. This is big and heavy. And what is unique about it, it's got the smooth sides. This is where the bolts go in to anchor it to the flange, and there's a cover for that, a China cover. So this is very easy to keep clean compared to a standard toilet. And a lot of folks put these in commercial applications where maybe cleaning isn't as frequent, so it's a lot easier to keep clean. So what we have to do is just set this down here for a moment. This is heavy because it's basically has two sets of china. What's kind of cool about this toilet too is it comes with all the hardware, comes with the wax ring, comes with the toilet seat, so you don't have to buy a seat. This uses the what we call an elongated toilet seat. I'm not sure why toilet seats are elongated, and I don't think I'll make any bad jokes about it either. But it's a plastic seat, and that saves you about 20, 30 bucks. This we picked up at Lowe's, and it was about 100. I've seen them on sale for as little as 150, but I believe this regular price for this is about $200. And you know, you can get online and you can read about toilet reviews, how much material can pass down through the toilet. There is a whole science in terms of testing toilets, and they're becoming very refined in terms of making make-believe stuff to go down test toilets. Some companies use golf balls. Some companies make things out of, how do I say this delicately, soy stuff. At any rate, suffice it to say, there's a lot of testing and data. If you just Google toilet testing, you can read more than you ever wanted to know about toilets. So And this got some reasonably good reviews. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it. So I said, let's give it a try, see how it works. The smooth sides is kind of interesting from a housekeeping point of view. So we'll see what happens. So we've got the wax flange, which I unceremoniously threw over here. And we've got also the bolts for the anchoring the toilet. And let's go get this set up to put in place. And we can make the whole toilet work in the few fleeting moments we have left. We're almost done, believe it or not. The worst part of doing a toilet is the old toilet removal. The new toilet install is a piece of cake. All right, so we've got the wax ring. Wax rings are wax rings. It's the same wax I just showed you that we took off the seat. They're usually wrapped in some thin plastic. We want to just carefully remove the plastic because the stickiness of this wax, which again is beeswax, is what seals the toilet to the flange. There's usually a plastic collar. We're going to set that right on the little outlet from the toilet. You can see from underneath here, there's sort of a shell that hides all the plumbing that normally you would see on a standard toilet. And we've got the two toilet bolts, which are all brass, and they just fit right into the slot here. And they're 90 degrees opposite each other, like so. And we just set that up. Actually, the line is perfect there. Okay, so once we have this in place, we've got the bolts in place, we now sort of carefully pick this up and flip it over and set it down so the bolts come up through these two bolt holes which anchor it to the floor. So I've got to stand in front of the light, in front of the camera person, and tip this over carefully. I'm going to do it on its side first. This could be a two-person operation, but I'm here by myself. And we just and the wax ring dropped off because it hit. So we'll take it and stick it on again. And the wax ring fell off. What we're going to do, the wax ring came off the toilet, so we're just going to set it right on the flange where it belongs. And we'll do it this way. As long as we center the toilet, we're okay. There we go. Now that is on the flange. And now we just have to put the hardware on to anchor it down. And we have two things here. We have a nice plastic washer that goes on first. Pushes down in. There we go. A metal washer goes over top of that. The plastic washer is going to protect the china from cracking. And then we will hand tighten these. Now, I don't know if you've done toilets before, usually we get into the mischief we got into with the taking these things apart. We get into trouble where things corrode. These toilet base flanges are not going to have a corrosion issue because they are going to be completely protected when we get covers on this in just a little bit. So I'm going to get a wrench instead of using a vice grip or plumbing pliers. We might have to we're going to relocate some of this here because this is actually kind of discreet behind there, and we'll have to get an extension. But let's we'll get the hardware hooked up and then we'll go from there. Okay, so what we're doing now is just tightening this down. This is a 10 millimeter open end wrench I'm using, and we want to make it so the toilet has no movement. It still moves a little bit. Usually when I do a toilet, and I've got something like tile, or in this case vinyl on the floor, I can use the pattern, as long as the pattern's fairly square, to see how the toilet is oriented. And of course I'm also looking to see how it relates to the wall that's behind it. The gap should be parallel between the wall and the tank, and it is, or the bowl in this case. And that's pretty solid. So now the next step is we need to put the tank on. We have a nice new gasket that seals the gap in between the two. And then we've got, again, some more brass hardware for making sure that we can seal the tank to the bowl properly. And there's a certain order here. We've got some washers. We've got rubber washers that are going to seal the gap. Let's get the tank and we'll set that in place and show you how this goes together. Okay, so in keeping with the entire theme of doing things upside down so they don't go together easily, we have the bolts for holding the tank on. We've got the brass washer on top, and then we have the rubber washer underneath. That's a gasket. The donut that goes in between the two we actually fit onto the tank first. And I'm not going to, I guess I could set these in now if I hold it this way. And then we just take this assembly, which is a lot lighter obviously than the bowl was, and we set the tank on top. The screws have gone through, the bolts are through. We just kind of balance that precariously. Again, with another washer and a nut, we'll tighten down. Now this is a little different than a regular toilet because of this cover here. The smooth sides means you have to get behind this a little bit to reach up and behind the toilet to get the nut and bolt on, or the nut and washer, excuse me. Well, there's one. We're going to reach behind here again and underneath. Do the same thing on this side. And we'll do this hand tight. Then we'll get a screwdriver and a wrench, and we can tighten this down. There we go. But we're almost done. And it's starting to look like a toilet in the bathroom. The elongated bowl toilet. Okay, so through the magic of television, I've tightened up the tank. I've hooked up the water, and if we do the water connection here, we turn the water on. We feel for leaks. Now the stub that went, this is from the old toilet, I replaced it because I needed a longer stem. But this is flexible copper. I like to use copper because it's quite rugged. They make a plastic tube that's very flexible. It's covered with a stainless steel sheath. I'm not real crazy about them. I don't trust them. They say they won't burst, but it only has to happen once and your whole day is ruined, your whole house is ruined. So there I like to use copper. We've got the tank cover. Put that on top. It's a look. It's a little different than a regular looking toilet. We still have to do the seat. I've got to get the hardware for that, but seat goes there. Now that 1.8 gallon fill is pretty quick. One thing I read about this toilet that may or may not be an issue, we will discover it upon use, is the amount of water in the bowl. And we get to play in the toilet. This is the only time you get to play in the toilet and be very cavalier. But the amount of water that is in the bowl, the more water there is, the better, because the bowl stays cleaner. At any rate, we'll see how that works out. That was a negative I had read about, but this is going to save another quarter of a gallon, and maybe that's a good thing. And then it shuts off again. We've got little covers for where the hardware is on the sides, so that'll be nice and easy to keep clean. And we are out of time. How do we do a toilet in a half hour on TV? I don't know, it's amazing, isn't it? But it works. See you next week. And away go troubles down the drain. Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems.